Asia, the region known for its agriculture, tradition, immense population, and some of the best cuisines in the world, has some serious trouble coming its way. A major water crisis. According to reports, this will be the worst water crisis or drought conditions this region has ever gone through, and what lies ahead may change this region forever. Water is set to become the most contested resource in Asia if the continent's biggest players continue to mismanage its use. India, China, Bangladesh, and Pakistan alone account for nearly half the world's total groundwater use, and with falling water resources, there is a big challenge ahead for this region. The problem is quite simple. We've all heard in one of those science classes that there is quite a lot of water on Earth, but the problem is 97.5% of that water is saline, which means it is not safe to drink for humans, and only 2.5% is fresh water, which is scattered throughout the globe in the form of glaciers and ice caps. Now, some of you might disagree with the idea of a potential crisis in Asia by thinking that Asia owns some of the largest water resources like rivers and water bodies, and you're right too, but the freshwater sources might vanish if not cared after and used carelessly. The global demand for fresh water is soaring as supply is becoming more uncertain. Today, 1 out of 6 people in Asia do not have adequate access to safe water. It goes without saying that Asia is home to more than half of the world's population. It has less fresh water, 3,920 cubic meters per person per year, than any continent other than Antarctica. Almost 2/3 of global population growth is occurring in Asia, where the population is expected to increase by almost 500 million people within the next 10 years. Asia's rural population will remain almost the same between now and 2025, but the urban population is likely to increase by a staggering 60%, which is insane. But the million-dollar question is, with increasing population and some unbearable stress on the region's natural water resources, along with intense climate change effects, what lies ahead for Asia? Climate change is expected to worsen the situation significantly. Experts agree that reduced access to fresh water will lead to a cascading set of consequences, including impaired food production, the loss of livelihood security, large-scale migration within and across borders, and increased economic and geopolitical tensions and instabilities. Over time, these effects will have a profound impact on security throughout the region, which can also lead to some tensions across borders. Until now, you guys might have got your head around the problem, and you might be thinking that, are we going through a water crisis? Or is it just about access to clean or fresh water that is causing all this trouble? Or is Asia simply not receiving enough rainfall? It can be a ticking time bomb. Resource mismanagement has led to a critical water shortage in Asia. We need to understand that Asian countries are dependent on agriculture, and this is the reason more than 70% of their water resources are utilized by agriculture. But the problem starts with the mismanagement of these crucial water resources. Millions of farmers, not to mention city residents and companies, are placing huge pressure on water reserves in what is already one of the world's most water-stressed regions, draining its wells and aquifers at a quite alarming rate. One report by the Water Resources Group predicted the regional supply will fall by 60% and below demand by 2030, which is quite alarming. But even if some parts of Asia are still having adequate water supply, the quality of water is depleting at a rapid rate. Countries like India and Pakistan are at the center of this acute water shortage. Both countries have been blamed for their mismanagement of water resources, causing a depleting water quality. Due to mismanagement and increased demand, both countries have sought a scapegoat for their inadequacies and fallen on one another. Pakistan and India already have a long-strained relationship over the Indus River. Trans-boundary water conflicts occurred on all tributaries of the Indus River before India and Pakistan signed the Indus Water Treaty with the support of the World Bank in 1960. The treaty divides the 6 major rivers of the Indus Basin, allocating 3 western rivers, the Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab, to Pakistan, with some water apportioned to India, and offered India exclusive rights to the 3 eastern rivers, Ravi, Sutlej, and Beas. This immediately created tension as the waters of the Chenab and Jhelum, awarded to Pakistan, flow through Indian-administered Kashmir before they flow into Pakistan, which means that negotiations over water are always bound by concerns over territorial sovereignty, with water supply increasingly becoming a point of tension. Similarly, China has to meet the needs of 20% of the world's population, with only 7% of the world's freshwater reserves, and a remarkable north-south divide with respect to water availability. Decades of booming industrialization has heavily polluted China's already scarce water resources. According to reports, more than 40% of the country's rivers are polluted or seriously polluted, and when water quality of life was inspected by authorities in more than 198 cities, it was found that 60% of the groundwater was inadequate to be used for drinking. China did not sign the UN Watercourses Convention, nor is it a member of regional transboundary water organizations. China therefore has the ability to unilaterally determine the development of its water infrastructures. With water resources getting thin with the passage of every passing day, the question that needs to be addressed is, are we heading towards a major water war in the future? Now, as stated earlier, China, the upstreaming superpower, has already shown some signs of aggression by showing off its naval superiority in the South China Sea, and is trying to assert greater control on Asia's water politics. Most of China's internationally shared water resources are located on the Tibetan Plateau, which it annexed in the early 1950s. Unsurprisingly, it has been the epicenter of Chinese dam construction. With that being said, China has also played a political card by cutting off one of the tributaries of the Brahmaputra River, the lifeline of northern India and Bangladesh. Of course, China is not the only country stoking conflict over water. Pakistan and India have been feuding over water for decades now, and have even fought a war over this issue. The Indus River runs through India and Pakistan respectively. To be more particular, it has to pass through India in order to reach Pakistan. Not to mention that more than 80% of Pakistan's agriculture is dependent on the Indus River. Therefore, any of India's dam building activities over the Indus River would threaten Pakistan's economy. On the other hand, we have Bangladesh and India with a troubling water history. For many years, India and Bangladesh have exchanged sharp accusations over shared river resources. As the supply of fresh water diminishes throughout the world, many experts see the need for a blue revolution, similar to what the green revolution was for food. Such a revolution is important, according to these experts, in order to arrest the continued trend of dwindling freshwater resources and its consequences. Reliance on technical solutions, for example, desalination of water, water transport by tankers, and other non-conventional solutions, are likely to provide only limited solutions. The cost of these solutions are generally prohibitive, as they do little to address the major water needs of the next 25 years. Asia is on the verge of running out of water, yet with the world population projected to increase to nearly 9 billion over the next few decades, bringing with it the associated need for greater food production and industry, it stands to reason that shortages of clean fresh water can potentially have broad and far-reaching security implications. With that being said, the health of millions of people is already jeopardized by shortages and pollution of freshwater supplies, particularly in poor developing nations, and it has made the situation worse. To put the long story short, in the next 20 or even 10 years, water scarcity in Asia can turn into a major crisis if not paid attention, and it can also fuel potential water conflicts in the region. So what do you guys think about the water crisis in Asia? Will it fuel a major conflict in the region, or will the nation somehow manage to avert a major crisis by coming up with a solution? Let us know in the comment sections below. That was all for today. Make sure you press the like and subscribe button if you do like watching videos on geopolitical situations and headlines. And we'll see you guys in the next video.